Okay, so stick. Let's do some revisions today. And everybody had a chance to practice.
No, a
Okay,
little bit, yeah.
okay, good. Then we'll practice. So you guys have pen and paper with you?
Uh, 1 second.
Yes.
Okay, so we will practice. We will practice, practice, and do some more practice. Last time, some people were overwhelmed. I think it's, give me a second. I think last time some people felt overwhelmed. So let's start with Bhavya today. Bhavya, you were asking me a question on tamas. I'm just reminding this to jog your memory from last time.
Okay.
Okay. Uh, I don't know if I gave you a complete clarification on it, but do you want to repeat your question and then let's see if you understand, if I can explain you better or not?
Okay. So if I remember my question correctly, it was out of the entire list that was there on the slide, Tamas was the only one that was attributed with like with characteristics that were seen that can be seen more negatively rather than neutral. So my question was more about how like because everything has two sides, right? So I felt like I was wondering if Tamas has a positive side to it as well, or if it is just like negative, because everything in astrology I've understood so far is that nothing is positive, nothing is negative. It all depends on its position and how it behaves and enacts with other things that are around it, is what I've understood from astrology so far.
Correct. Wow, Namika, you are on two phones or two. I see two of you.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No,
I'm
that's
I
okay.
was having some trouble with one of them. I'm gonna sign out of one.
No problem. That's okay. So, yes, tamas, you saw negative qualities associated. But what you saw was tamas was defined as one characteristic of amongst many others. Okay, so while Saturn cannot be a good or a bad planet, Rahu cannot be a good or a bad planet, Ketu cannot be a good or a bad planet, but one of the characteristics is a bad characteristic, which is a tamas. We have to look at the other significances of Saturn or Rahu or Ketu in a specific chart to see if tamas is the governing factor overall. So imagine this: lot of us uh, do not follow the sattvic diet or anything like that. Okay, many of us do not follow that because sattvic diet, true sattvic diet, is unboiled milk. Okay, so it hasn't been pasteurized, and fruits and vegetables and that sort of thing. And I don't know of many people who strictly follow that diet. Okay, but uh, tamas is also associated with drinking and meats and all of those things, low level food, right? Not just
Mhm.
spices, because spices is more rajas gun. Okay, but if a Saturn is behaving very, it's naturally malefic also. So
Mhm.
remember, I told you every planet will give its natural significance as well as what the functional significance of it is in a chart. So if Saturn is also a functional malefic in a chart, and say it is somehow affecting the person's karma, then everything that person will do will be more. So how can you differentiate between criminals and people who are good? Okay, so there is going to be something additional to just the tamasic gun of one tamasic gun. The Saturn will also or one of the planets will also give very negative results.
Mhm.
Okay, so I think your question was, you had heard that people who are ready to have a fight sooner rather than later, okay, for example, their tamas gets affected faster than others.
So to clarify, what I meant was that, so what I've heard is that when someone's tamas is more, and this was, I think, more in regards to food, like when people eat more tamasic meals, or rather when their tamas, because of which their tamas is high, they tend to be more, they tend to follow their emotions more strongly, in sense like they get affected very quickly, and they show that they're affected very quickly.
Okay.
So these kind of qualities are more useful for a warrior who needs to act on their actions versus person who's sitting on a desk and has to deal with stuff of the sort. Like that's the kind of mindset I was coming from.
So tamas is not really necessarily a soldier or a policeman or or something like that, because they are also protectors. Okay, so yes, there will be that kshatriya element very strong in them. People who have that protecting ability, soldiers, policemen, people like that. Okay, but tamasic typically we mean when somebody is doing niche karma. So it is not just the food. So if you go to any priest, anybody, and you're going through certain phases in life, first thing they will say is to change your diet, because the sattvic food will slowly start to change your mind, the biology of it, how it interacts with your mind. But there are other things that are associated. If a person is doing purely tamasic deeds, I would not say that it is only because they're consuming tamasic things.
Question. What exactly would tamasic deeds be?
Say somebody's a rapist, say
I
somebody
see.
is a killer, say somebody is very good at cheating people. All these frauds, all these scams you see these days with online as well as telephone, people scamming older people, these are all tamasic deeds.
I see. So these are like, so tamasic is basically attributes to the negative side of a person, or rather the negative qualities a person can embody. Is that right?
In pure sense, tamasic will mean that these people never think about anybody else but just themselves and what they like.
I see. So the point of like harming, like they are so focused on themselves that they do not care about whether their focus on self is harming the people around them, or they're willing to purposely go and harm others if it means that they get to fulfill their requirements or whatever their desires are.
Yes, they
I
are
see.
willing to go to any length. So a narcissistic person, okay, will not necessarily be a rapist, will not necessarily kill anybody, but they will hurt a lot of people, okay, just by their selfish motives, because they are so focused on themselves. So there is gradation. Okay, how do we determine one will be a killer versus not? But tamasic in pure sense will mean that these people are just living out for themselves. They have no concern. And what we say in our Vedic shastras, we talk about Vasudev Kutumbakam. We are all one family. Okay, so everything is derived, and that is what we call dharma. When we say something is dharmic, we are talking everything from that perspective, how we view the world, what are our actions around, to help other people, to grow the society. It is not just about ourselves. Okay, so that is where the sattvic and the tamasic and the rajasic things can, rajasic will think more about a boundary, a region. How do I protect this? Okay, because the desh is most important to them, the country is most important to them. But tamasic in really in pure terms is someone who is just focused on themselves. And obviously if you're consuming tamasic food day in day out, it will give it will give rise, it will enhance the tamasic qualities and the characteristics when that dasha comes. Remember, the chart is what promises an event. It's a static thing. The dasha is what promises when it will happen. That is the dynamic thing in the chart. Does that make sense?
Oh, that makes so much more sense. Thank you.
Good.
I needed that clarity.
Okay, awesome. Anybody else has any questions so far? No? Okay, so let's just practice today on the pen and paper. Draw the Kal Purush Kundli.
So Kalpurush is like Aries in house number 1,
That's correct.
and all the numbers will stay the same since it's 1.
All the numbers, again, Masi, the numbers are only represent Rashis. They do not represent the houses.
Right. So
Do not
with
populate the house
Kalpurush,
numbers.
I just know, yeah, house numbers, should we put it like 1, 2, 3, 4 or anything
That's
10?
the only, because the houses are always static. It remains 1, 2, 3, 4.
Do we need to add the rashis as well in or just the numbers?
So if you add any numbers, what do the numbers represent?
Rashis.
The rashi.
Okay. So tell me, what numbers do you see in the Kendra houses?
1,
1,
4.
4, 7, 10.
Everybody agrees? Masi, you agree?
Yeah, yeah. I was just right because I didn't review this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what numbers do you see in Trikon houses?
That is the Lakshmi Sthan.
That's right.
1, 5, 9.
Right.
Yeah.
What numbers do you see in Upchaya houses?
Yeah.
What is Upchaya house again? Sorry.
Upchaya houses are 3, 6, 10,
10
11.
and 11. Yeah.
And these are houses which grow over time and they will improve their results over time.
Okay. And is there a is this just like it's always 3, 6, 10 and 11, or is there a counting, like how for the trikon it's 1, 5 and 9?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question. First part of the question was the answer. That is right. The Upchaya houses are always 3, 6, and 3, 6, 10, and 11.
Okay.
Okay.
So there's no sequence or no pattern here, right?
No,
That
there is no
okay.
pattern.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
So
And
when
usually, okay. And which are the Trik houses?
which houses?
Trik, Trik. I may not have mentioned this term. This is Dushtana houses. I had said that.
Bad house means Dushtana?
Yeah.
6, 8, 12. 6, 8, and 12.
Yeah. So that's so that the houses numbers. When I say which in Trik houses, the houses are 6, 8, and 12, and the numbers, the Rashi numbers you'll see in them are 6, 8, and 12, because this is Kal Purush Kundli.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So go ahead, Bhavya.
Just to clarify, for our purposes at the moment, we're looking at them just as groups, right?
We are looking at.
I know I asked this question last class too.
Yeah, we are looking them at. When I talk about Trik houses, that's a grouping. When I
Okay.
talk about Upchaya houses,
Uh-huh.
it's a grouping. When I talk about Kendras, it's a grouping. When I talk about Trikonas, it's a grouping. Okay. There are other groupings also, but they are not as important. And I will teach them as we get to them. But these groupings are important to understand because when we analyze any chart if there's a planet in an Upchai house, I will say, okay, look, I'm analyzing this chart because I'm also looking this planet. It's a naturally malefic planet. It's sitting in an Upchai house. So at that time, you'll understand, okay, Upchai house is either 3, 6, 10, and 11, and you'll see its place there. And you know, Upchai house will give results over time. They will continue to get stronger. So the analysis you will be able to understand easier. That, you know, I don't have to explain you Upchai houses again, because it will come many times. If something is put in, some planet is in a trick house, and I talk about, okay, look, this is in a trick house. What does that mean? Okay. And then you guys will understand what that means. Okay. We won't have to go into the discussion about what a trick house is, or a kendra is,
Understood.
or a trikon is. Okay. So in English, kendra were quadrant. In English, trikon was uh,
Chinese, I think. Chinese.
trine. They were trinal homes. Yeah. And then there is no word for dusthana, bad houses, or upchai. There is no English for that. Okay. Okay. Now let's draw a kundli with Capricorn ascendant.
Capricorn is 10.
Yes.
10. Hmm.
All then, Anamika, which houses, which in the Kendra houses, what are the signs you see?
10, 1, 4, 7.
Everybody agrees?
Yeah.
You should say 1, 10, 4, 7.
10, 1, 4, 7. Yeah. Tejas, which rashis do you see in the Trikon houses, trinal houses? You're on mute. Still can't hear you, Tejas.
Sorry, I forgot the question.
Which
Trikon
rashis
houses,
do we
yeah.
see in the trinal homes? Meena, you want to answer that?
10 to 6.
10 to 6, that's correct. Okay. Now draw a Leo ascendant kundli, but I'd like you to draw it backwards. So start from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 12, 11. So go draw it. We must learn the charts and the houses inside out. So front ways, sideways, backwards, anyway. Very quickly, we need to identify the houses. So draw a chart with a Leo ascendant, but drew it backwards. So the first house, then 12th house, then 11th house, then 10th house. So what are the rashis in the uh, trinal houses?
Leo, Sagittarius, and Aries.
Everybody
No.
gets it? Masi, did you get it?
What were you saying? Make it
I
opposite.
said instead of going first house, second house, third house, fourth house, fifth house, how you number the rashis,
Uh-huh.
go from first house, 12th house, 11th house, and then number the rashis.
Oh.
Because after 5, what will come?
6.
6. And 6 will be in the second house, correct?
Yeah, right.
Okay, what is the house before number 1?
12.
12th house.
Yeah.
And what is the number before before 5?
4.
So the 12th house will always have 4. The 11th house will always have 3. The 10th house will always have 2 in a Leo ascendant chart.
Oh.
Okay, in this Leo ascendant chart, okay, remember I talked about the combination of Raj Yoga Karak, which is both. So I talked about Raj Yoga, which is a combination of a Kendra Sthan and Trikon, okay, Vishnu Sthan and a Lakshmi Sthan. But I also talked about one planet can be a Raj Yoga Karak because it has the lordship of both Kendra and Lakshmi Sthan. Okay, so write this down. I will give this notes later on. Let me give you the lordships. Aries is ruled by Mars. So you'll have a chart, you'll have something in front of you. Aries is Mars. Taurus is Venus. Gemini is Mercury. Cancer is Moon. Leo is Sun. Virgo is Mercury again. Libra is Venus. Scorpio is Mars. Sagittarius is Jupiter. Capricorn is Saturn. Aquarius is again Saturn. And Pisces is Jupiter. These are the lordships. Saturn.
After Capricorn, which one did you say?
Saturn.
No, Capricorn, there were 2 Saturns in a row.
Capricorn and Aquarius are Saturn. Venus. Okay, so in the Leo ascendant, do we see any planet owning a Kendra and a Lakshmi Sthan? So which houses do we have to look at to identify? So instead of looking at all 12 houses and all 9 planets, okay, or 7 planets, when I say which planet owns a Kendra as well as Lakshmi Sthan, which houses will we have to look at? We will have to look at 1, 4, 7, 10,
9.
5, 9.
Yeah.
Correct?
And the one they have in common is 1.
I'm sorry?
The one that they have in common, that's both Trikon.
Yeah, that's
is
fine.
1.
Yeah. So is there a planet in here? Don't take that rule into consideration right now when I'm talking about in the Leo ascendant, Sun will always have Kendra and Trikon. But any other planet owns a Kendra as well as a Trikon. 159. So, Vinny, do you know the answer?
No, I'm just trying to figure that out.
So which planet has the lordship of number one house?
Number one, Mars.
No, sorry, number
No.
one house.
Oh, number one house,
Sun.
Sun.
Sun does, correct. Which planet has the lordship of the fourth house?
Mars.
Mars.
Okay. Which planet has the lordship of the seventh house?
Aquarius.
Aquarius. Saturn.
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 Which,
Yeah.
which planet has the lordship of the 10th house?
10th house is number two, Venus.
Correct, Venus. Okay. So out of Saturn, out of Mars, Saturn, Venus, and Sun,
Mhm.
anybody owns number 5 and number 9 also?
Sagittarius, Jupiter, Aries is Mars.
Mars.
Yes.
You guys see it? Mars has the lordship of the 4th and the 9th houses.
Correct. Yeah.
The 9th house is Lakshmi Sthan Trikon, and the 4th house is the Kendra house, which is the Vishnu Sthan. So Mars becomes the Raj Yokarak in a Leo ascendant chart. It functionally, it can give you very, very, very good results. Even though it's a naturally malefic planet, but functionally, it can give you very, very good results because every planet plays dual role. One is a static promise, which is their natural significance. Are they malefic or benefic? And the second is a functional role that they have to play in a specific chart. Now draw a Cancer ascendant.
Quick question, sorry. So for this like Raj Yog Karak, right? We just look at the Kendra and Trikon, right? And any planet that's like kind of the same, ruled by the same, that becomes the Raj Yog Karak?
Yes.
Okay.
So the Raj Yog Karak is always owns both a Kendra Sthan and which is a Vishnu Sthan and a Trikon, which is Lakshmi Sthan.
Okay.
Okay, because that's where the Raj Yog happens, a combination. What does yog mean? Anybody knows what yog means? What does yoga
Time.
mean? Like we all practice yoga. What does yoga mean? In simple words, yoga just means a combination, a union.
Mm.
Okay, so when we are doing yoga, we are actually matching or putting a lot of focus on our breath. So it's a combination of the mind with the breath.
Okay.
Okay, when we do meditation, again we do yoga because it's a mental and energy matching with the mind as well as with our breath. Okay, so yoga is or means combination or a union. Okay, so now draw a Cancer. Huh? Leo. I had asked for Leo. So I have never asked for any other yet. Okay, so draw a Cancer ascendant Kundli. Tejas, we are looking at a Cancer ascendant Kundli. Drawn.
Yeah.
Which is the Raj Yog Karak planet?
Moon?
In a Cancer ascendant?
Yes.
Who's speaking?
Binny.
Vinny, can you turn your camera on, please?
Yes.
Thank you, Vinny. So, how did you get moon? Did you draw the Kundli out?
Yes. So fourth, so Kendra is number 4, right? Cancer.
Okay.
Cancer is ruled by moon, right? And in, oh, never mind. Sorry, my bad.
Okay.
Okay, I get it. Mars. Mars.
Yes.
Yes.
Everybody else gets it?
No, I didn't get it. So for number 4 is moon.
Mm-hmm.
Number 7 is Venus.
Yeah.
Number 10 is Saturn.
Yes.
Number 1 is Mars. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Got it.
It was confusing.
Yeah. Yeah. Got it.
Okay. These are the very basics when you pick up any.
Although I'm a Cancer ascendant, I kind of missed that.
So when we look at any chart, these are the first things we look at. The first things we look at is how are the houses, what is the ascendant? That is the first thing I have to discern. The second thing I want to understand is how are the planets placed? What yogas do I have in this chart? I have to identify the yogas. And then I can start to understand how do different yogas operate, whether in a good way or in a bad way, and when will the results come in which dasha. So, but we start with reading a chart. So we have to very quickly, we must be very comfortable in identifying the house and trying to understand where the planets are placed. Okay. Everybody got it, or is somebody still missing it? Should we practice more? Cancer, what is your first house? What are the 4 Kendra houses in a Cancer ascendant?
Four, 7, 10, 1.
Yes, you got that. So sorry, Meena is asking me on the side. I asked her to mute
Oh.
her because we are
Okay.
sitting in the same room today.
Okay.
Okay. So 10, so 4, 7, 10, and 1 are the Kendra houses. What are the Trikona houses? 4, 8, 12. Correct? So 4, 8, 12. Now, which planet has the lordship of both Kendra and Trikona? Why? Look, what houses do Mars rule? Mars rules Aries and Scorpio, correct? So where is Scorpio? Five. That's a Trikona or a Kendra? Can you answer my question instead of looking at your notes? Is Kendra Trikona or a Kendra house? Trikona, 5th house is Trikona. Which other house does Mars own? And where is Aries? Okay, it's a Kendra, so it's a Rajyokarak. Correct? Okay, so draw Taurus Lagna. And somebody who hasn't answered, tell me who is the Rajyokarak planet here?
Saturn.
Everybody sees it? Tejas, do you see it, bacha? No, you're on mute. I can't hear you.
Still doing it.
Now I can hear you.
Yeah, I managed to fix it, thankfully. It was at Saturn, right?
Yeah.
So
I think I'm having difficulty with this.
Why? Did you draw the Taurus ascendant, Bacha? Okay. So who owns the Kendra houses?
Just the first one is house number 1, which is like Mars, which is owned by Mars. That one,
Taurus
yeah.
ascendant.
So just a quick question. Will the lordship of the house also change with the Rashi?
Will the
Or is
house-
the, because doesn't the
There is
lordship
no-
connect
there is-
with the houses?
Sorry?
Doesn't the lordship connect with the houses and not with the Rashi?
No, but it is connected totally with the Rashi. Because
Oh, so I
number
don't
1
think
is
that's
Aries,
wrong.
number 2 is Taurus, number 3 is Cancer, number 4 is, number 3 is Gemini, number 4 is Cancer, number 5 is Leo. Okay?
Uh-huh.
But the houses are dynamic, they keep changing.
So sorry, I think I'm getting lost here.
Why? Okay, draw an empty chart out.
Okay, drawn.
Drawn. Now populate the chart with Taurus ascendant. Okay, before you do that, Bhavya, count the houses. Is there any other way you start counting the houses? You always start from the top, right? Top diamond, and then move counterclockwise. There is no other
Yes.
way you can count the houses. The houses are always going to be static. When I say draw a Taurus ascendant, that tells you where you will put number 2 sign in, number 2, and then you know how to number the other houses. Okay?
Yes.
So when I ask which planet has the lordship of Kendra and Lakshmi Sthan both, you have to look at houses number 1, 4, 7, 10, and 5 and 9.
Yes, and houses are static. They don't move. Rashis
That's right.
move, yes?
Yeah, that's right. So which houses are there in 1, 4, which Rashis are there in houses 1, 4, 7, 10?
That one would be, I have it here. So for in house 1, there is Taurus. In house,
Which Rashi, okay, which planet owns that Rashi?
which planet owns the Rashi Taurus?
Yeah,
That would be Venus, I think.
okay. And the next Kendra house?
Kendra house next would be 4. That would be Leo. And Leo is owned by the moon.
Okay, so houses are static, okay? We don't have to call it the fourth, we don't have to call it number 4, because when we talk, we will talk about the 4th house, the 5th house, all of those things. But right now, I'm saying which planet have the lordship of Kendra Sthanas. So you just look at the 1, 4, 7, 10 houses and tell me the Rashi number and which planet owns it,
Okay.
right?
I
the
need more
7th
practice
house,
in
7th
remembering
house.
them.
No, it's not more practice. So
Okay.
you're being more difficult on yourself
I see.
by saying this, because when I tell you draw, that's why I started with the Kal Purush Kundli, because in Kal Purush, it always starts, the first house is always number 1, the second house is always number 2. When I ask you to draw a blank chart, everybody knows it, and if I tell you to count the houses in a blank chart, everybody will know it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I'm saying draw a chart with Taurus ascendant. It should be very, very, very easy for you to start populating 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 1. Correct?
Yes.
Therefore, the Kendra houses are always 1, 4, 7, and 10 houses. You cannot mix the Rashi number with the house number,
Okay.
because that's what you're doing. When you're anytime anybody is mixing with the counting, it's because they are reading the house numbers as the Rashi numbers.
Okay.
So when you
House
say
numbers are never populated. That's why they're never populated, because they're static. You always read the first house from where the first diamond is.
so when she's saying this 1, 4, 7, 10 is the Kendra houses, right? So when you're asking which Rashis or which houses planet is there, so then we have to look for the planet, not the Rashi.
Masi, when I talk about which planet has a lordship of Kendra Sthanas, you
Uh-huh.
have to look at the houses,
Which is 1, 4, 7, 10. You say.
which is 1, 4, 7, 10, and then you have to look at which Rashi is populated in these four houses, 1, 4, 7, 10.
So it will be Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. Is
But I
that
didn't ask for a Kal Purush Kundi. I didn't ask for an Aries ascendant. I asked for a Taurus ascendant.
So it would be sorry, so it would be Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius.
Correct.
And then those ones, those planetary alignments, those lordships would equivalently be Venus, Sun, Mars, and Saturn.
Saturn.
Yeah.
Oh, I got it.
Right. And out of these four planets, Venus, Mars, Sun, and Saturn, which planet also has the lordship of a Lakshmi Sthan or a Trikon?
That would be Venus, Mercury, and Saturn.
So which planet, I said which planet also has the lordship of Lakshmi Sthan?
Oh, then that would be Saturn because Saturn is both for house 9 and house 10.
That's correct. That's how that person who answered Saturn, that's how that person got it.
Thank you so much. That clears it out.
Okay. Anybody still has a doubt?
So, essentially, that can only be the planets that repeat in our list, right? So it can only ever be Saturn or Mars. Yeah, Mars or Jupiter. Those are the only planets that can be both in a Kendra house and a Lakshmi.
Venus as well.
Wait, Mercury also repeats though, right?
Every planet, just
Except Sun and
Oh
Moon.
yeah, they
one
do. You're right.
house.
Okay,
Every other planet owns two houses.
true.
So
Right.
we're
Sorry.
not taking into consideration Rahu and Ketu here, but every house is owned by, like, only Sun and Moon own one house each, which is Cancer and Leo, and every other planet owns two houses. 5 planets own 2 houses each. So that makes it 12 houses. Okay. Now, did you notice something? That in Cancer and a Leo ascendant, the Rajyog Karak is Mars for both of them.
Yeah.
So you can remember this very easily, and you'll remember this because we'll keep talking about it. In any time a luminary is in ascendant, which is a sun or a moon, Mars will always be the Rajyog Karak. Okay.
Yeah.
You had drawn a Leo ascendant chart, Bhavya, and we had concluded that Mars was the Rajyog Karak. And now you just drew a Cancer ascendant, and we again concluded Mars is the Rajyog Karak. Correct? Now draw a chart for Libra ascendant. See, if I don't tell any one of you what the ascendant is, you can only draw a blank chart, because you need to know which number to populate in the first house. So, which is the Rajyog Karak planet here?
Saturn.
Saturn. Yeah. So
Saturn,
you
yeah.
can see Saturn and Venus are really, really good friends. Okay, because Saturn is the Rajyog Karak in both Taurus and Libra ascendants. Both these ascendants are ruled by Venus, and Saturn becomes a Rajyog Karak anytime Venus is the ascendant lord. And for luminaries, Mars is the most friendliest planet to both Sun and Moon, King and Queen.
Sorry, can you repeat that last part?
Mars is the most friendliest planet to both Sun and Moon, to the luminaries.
Oh.
And
So
that's
is it
why it's a
correct?
Rajyog Karak in both the charts.
Is it correct to assume that like whatever planet rules that in that Rashi, right? It's gonna be like the same ascendants, like same Rajyog Karaks. So like let's say if
Can you
there's a
explain that a little
Kundli
better?
for Gemini and Virgo, the Rajyog Karak would be the same planet in both.
Try a Gemini ascendant.
Okay.
Bhavya, you draw two. Draw Gemini ascendant Kundli. Who owns the Kendras in a Gemini ascendant?
3, 6, 9, 12.
Yeah, and who has the lordship of these houses?
So Mercury, Mercury 3 and 6 is Mercury as well. And then 9th is Jupiter and 12th is Jupiter. Oh,
Very
interesting.
good. Very good. And then who owns the 5th or the 9th houses? Which planet rules those two houses?
5th and the 9th is 7 and 11, which is Venus and Saturn.
Correct. So there is not a singular Rajyog Karak here.
Interesting.
Okay. And you will find that true with many other houses also. Now, I told you Saturn is the friendliest friend for Venus.
Mercury.
Okay. Now, think about Capricorn and Aquarius ascendants. Just a hypothesis from you guys. What do you think is the Rajyog Karak for a Capricorn or an Aquarius ascendant?
Saturn?
Draw the Kundli out for a Capricorn and an Aquarius. So for Capricorn ascendant, Vinny, which is the Rajyog Karak planet?
Just a minute. Mercury?
Count again.
Sorry.
Who has the lordship of Kendra houses in a Capricorn ascendant?
So that would be Saturn, Mars, Moon, and Venus.
Correct. And out of these four
2 and
planets,
6.
anybody owns the
Venus.
Trikona?
Venus.
Venus.
Venus, yeah.
And draw an Aquarius ascendant. So in the Capricorn, Venus has the lordship of 5th and 10th houses. That's why 5th is a Lakshmi Sthan and 10th is a Kendra Sthan. Therefore, it is a Rajyog Karak. Now for Aquarius ascendant, who will be the Rajyog Karak?
Venus?
Venus. So Saturn is the Rajyog Karak planet for any Venusian ascendant, and Venus is the Rajyo Karak for any Saturn ascendant.
Hmm.
Okay. Is this practice helping you guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
So you see this chart that I just said just upfront. Aries is Mars, Taurus is Venus, Gemini is Mercury. It's so important to know these lordships by heart. And rote memorization, I do not advocate it, but I do say the more you practice, the more we talk about it. These things, as we move forward in the course, you won't have time to go and check back the list. It should come naturally to you, because
Yeah.
that's how things will start to make sense. What are the moksha karak houses?
Is it number 12?
In any chart, so this is another grouping. In any chart, what are the moksha karak houses?
It would be 4, 8, and 12. Like houses number 4, houses number 8, and house number 12.
Very
Okay.
good. What does moksha mean?
Liberation, triangles of liberation.
Right. So that's another thing we take into account. Where is a planet sitting? Is it sitting in a dharma trikon, or a moksha trikon, or an earth trikon, or a kam trikon? And we also must remember that because when we are now going to analyze a dasha, we have to first understand where a planet is sitting very accurately. What are the significances associated with it? And then we have to then understand what are the impacts which we haven't studied, and then give a reading. But these are the very basics that we must understand. A moksha, a planet sitting in moksha may not be, may not give you very positive results. But we know at the end it is driving you towards some liberation from some karma. Okay, it may not be a permanent liberation, but somehow it will teach you end of that Mahadasha, because Mahadasha is very long and lessons are long and hard. Uh, Throughout that Mahadasha, you may not have the best results in one, even if you have a very good result in some particular domain, there may be a lot of pain and learning going through that. That is paying karmic debt. Okay, so we must understand. If I quickly take a look at a chart, I go, okay, this guy his Mercury is in the Earth trikon, so he will earn money somehow. Let me see, is it going to be earnings or losses? Okay, what the situation is there, but something to do with wealth and earnings will happen. Okay, and I have to decipher, is this good result or is this a bad result? Okay, but I can say that, okay, something around this will happen. Then I will also take a look at what lordship that house has and all those things. Okay, we learn to interpret dashas later on, but it is very, very important to understand what, how am I going to start deciphering it? We talked about Kalpurish Kundli, and I talked about every Rashi, a little bit about every Rashi, what they represent. I think I've shared that with you, right? In the previous slide. So, because a Kalpurish Kundli also represents the houses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And the way we start.
I'm sorry for interrupting you. I'm sorry for interrupting you, sir. Just wanted to ask if we're supposed to be seeing any PowerPoint slide right now or not.
No, you're not. There's no PowerPoint. Okay, everything has been already given to you, so we're just practicing today. So Kal Purush Kundli, we also say, is the natural zodiac. Okay, so when I have given you the significances of Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, and so on, in a natural zodiac, they also represent the house numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, can we say that some of those significances will be true for houses in every ascendant? For example, in the Aries ascendant, the first house is ruled by Aries, and the sign is 1. The second house is ruled by Venus,
Venus.
Taurus. The house number is 2. But some of these significances, number 1, it's about your head, it's about yourself, it's about your personality. It's about you yourself. Number 2, Taurus is about your family, it's about your wealth. So the second house will also represent your family. It will represent your wealth. It will represent your earnings, accumulated wealth. The third house, we talked about Gemini, and we talked about hobbies. We talked about younger siblings. We talked about documentation. We talked about short travels. Okay, we talked about commission-based jobs. Okay, we represented that by Gemini, but we can also say that the third house will give you these significances. Any third house, even if it was a Cancer ascendant or a Taurus ascendant, that which you already have in front of you, the second house will be ruled by Gemini. So from a Gemini mercurial perspectives, it may have some different significances, but the second house significances will still apply here. Are you following me?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have just started to delve into understanding a little bit about houses. And it is easier to understand and explain once we understand the Kal Purush Kundli. You will see when I talk about the houses and I'm giving you the significances of each house, 1, what does it represent? 2, does it represent? You will see, oh wow, this is pretty similar to what we learned about the Rashis. Yeah, but because in a natural zodiac, the Rashis own the number of houses. The same number as the Rashi in a natural zodiac, the Rashi number is the same as the house number. Do you guys get it? Is there a confusion?
I have to go over your notes very bariki say. Because
I mean, again, I would not want you to memorize it.
no, but to
But
understand.
the more you understand about reading a chart, the more you understand when I talk about the fifth house, and we will learn more about houses. What does fifth house represent? There are many different significances of a fifth house. Okay, here I'm trying to bring some correlation to what we have learned and what we are going to learn. So remember I said the Kal Purush Kundli, we always must remember I said that there is a natural significance as well as a functional significance in any chart. So each house has a static significance also. Does it make sense? Any confusion here? Some of you look confused on the screen.
I'm always confused, then I have to work on it.
Okay, at this point, what have you practiced, Masi? Just making charts with different ascendants. The house numbers are exactly the same. The houses are exactly the same, but the Rashi in each house changes. Correct?
Right.
As long as you understand that part, you can quickly look at a chart and say, okay, this is a trick house, meaning either a sixth, eighth, or a 12th house, and I want to know the lordship of this house. I look at the number in that house, in that bhava, and then say, okay, this bhav is owned by this planet. Go ahead, Bhavya.
Okay, here is something I might be confused about, so I'm going to ask. So from what I understand, houses, so the lordship belongs to, so when we think about lordship, we think about houses, right? But when we practiced, I realized that the lordships also changes with the Rashi, because of course, like the ascendant changes and so does everything else. So yeah.
No, lordship never changes with Rashis. Aries is always going to be owned by Mars. Taurus is always going to be owned by Venus. Gemini is always going to be owned by Mercury. Cancer is always going to be owned by Lord, the Lord will always be Moon. The Rashis, that's why the planets are assigned lordship of certain signs. Remember, we talked about every planet owns 2 Rashis, but only Sun and Moon only own 1 Rashi. So Rashis, who owns them or who lords them is always static.
So
But
it's the same as the house, and house is always
no,
static.
it is not the same as house. Rashi is not the same as house.
Oh, sorry. Lordship is the same as is in the same lot as the house, and that's why it's always static. The lordship of the house is always static, is what I meant.
House, sorry, what did you say?
I meant that the lordship of each lordship associated with each house is always static,
It
right?
cannot be.
Okay.
It cannot be. We have practiced certain kundlis. We have practiced about 5 kundlis. In every kundli, you gave me a different planet which owns the house 1, 4, 7, 10. So how can the lordship always be the same?
Just to clarify, for 11, the last one, Accurus. So when you say like that goes with Saturn, right? What do you call that? Ruled by Saturn, right? Accurus, is that true in a way, or is
Sorry?
it? Accurus is ruled by Saturn, right?
Correct.
So this is something will never change. Like Sagittarius will be always like.
That's right. It does not matter which house Aquarius falls in, because Aquarius can fall in a different house depending upon the ascendant. Aquarius is always going to be ruled by Saturn. So if Aquarius ascendant chart, so Bhavya, you have an Aquarius ascendant chart?
Mhm.
Do you have the Aquarius ascendant chart, Bhavya?
Yes, sorry, I didn't realize I was on mute.
Which houses is Saturn owning here?
House number 1 will be owned by Saturn. Sorry, yeah, so Saturn will be owned by the first one because Aquarius is ascended.
Saturn will rule, not the house will own.
Got it.
Saturn will own houses 1 and which other house?
One, and then That's it. I don't know. Well, I'm not sure.
Draw an Aquarius ascendant chart, please.
I have an Aquarius ascendant chart.
Okay, have you populated them?
Yes, I
Okay.
populated them by Rashi. Yes.
Okay. So which Rashis does Saturn own number-wise?
Number-wise, it will be house number 11 and house number 12. Sorry, house number 10 and house number 11.
Why house number? I don't understand why do you keep confusing between house and Rashi?
So by Rashi, it will be Capricorn and Aquarius. So whichever place Capricorn and Aquarius are populated would
Correct.
be
So
belonging to
which houses
Saturn.
have Aquarius and Capricorn in an Aquarius ascendant?
An Aquarius would be ascendant would be again Aquarius because it's an Aquarius chart, that would be by Saturn, and the other one would be in the other would be Capricorn. Capricorn would be in house number 12.
Correct.
Yes.
And you also have a Capricorn ascendant chart. Which houses does Saturn rule?
Once again, let's draw my chart out.
1 and 2.
It will be 1 and 2.
It'll be 1 and 2. Correct? So see, it's different houses that now Saturn has lordship over. In Aquarius ascendant, it has lordship over the 1st and the 12th house. In Capricorn ascendant, it has the lordship over 1st and 2nd house. Okay?
Lordship is always connected with the Rashi then.
With the Rashi number.
Okay.
Lordship, sorry, there is a direct connection between the Rashi number and the Rashi name and the Lord of that Rashi.
Okay.
Correct? But in general terms, when we will discuss charts, my question will not be which planet rules Aries or which planet rules Capricorn or which planet rules Aquarius, because this part you must know inside out.
Okay.
My question will be which planet has the lordship of 5th house or which planet has the lordship of a Kendra house.
Right, and that would again be dependent on which whose kundali we're looking at, like who is the ascendant and how
Correct.
it populates.
Correct. Okay. It is through the Rashi number that we associate which planet it is, and it is based on the chart. We say, okay, in an Aquarius ascendant, the 12th lord, the ruler is Saturn.
Makes sense to me now. I think it made sense, and then I confused myself, and now it makes sense again.
Yeah. So if you draw, whenever you get confused, here is what I recommend you guys do. Draw a blank chart and count the house numbers. Okay? You say, okay, I know how to count the house numbers counterclockwise or clockwise. Okay? 1, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay? Draw a blank chart and then say, I want to make a Pisces ascendant, and then start populating the numbers. Pisces is a Rashi. Okay? And the numbers, even the house numbers, you know how to count them, but they're not populated, but you now know how to populate each house with a Rashi number. Okay? So houses and Rashis are not synonymous. Houses and Rashis are only synonymous in a Kal Purush Kundli, which is an Aries ascendant.
Thank you. It's clear to me now. For now.
For now.
Yeah.
Can I ask, what were you looking in Capricorn Saturn? You were trying to find Saturn in Capricorn, Bhavya? And you said one, which one did you say, 1 and 2 or something?
Oh, basically I was looking at, I think what I was doing was I was looking at the Kendra houses, and then I was connecting that with what was there in the Kalpurish Kundi. So basically I just made a mess and confused myself, but now it's clear that Rashis are associated with, so how the lordships are associated with Rashis, so they move based on their ascendant. And so that's why in each chart populated, it changes because the lordship also changes with the Rashi, like as the Rashi moves around in the chart.
So summary of this is always draw a blank chart. And you know the blank chart, there are 12 houses in a blank chart. And then you have to know the ascendant to know how to populate the house numbers. Because house numbers are never populated in any chart. So without drawing a chart, which number will be in the 12th house in a Pisces ascendant?
Aries.
Aries.
1.
No, yeah.
Sorry, Aries. We should not be saying 1.
Oh.
Sorry.
Aquarius.
Which Rashi will be in the 12th house in a Pisces ascendant? What number? In the 12th house.
Number
One
11.
before, one before. Okay.
And what?
11.
Oh, one before. Okay. So this will be Aquarius.
So I know this is what
Got it.
you got it? It's Pisces?
Yes,
Pisces
I
and then
got it.
Aquarius. This is something that you need to know inside out. Okay, you're starting with 12. The 12th house will be the one before that, 11.
Got it.
The second house will have the Aries Rashi.
Correct. Yeah.
And anytime you're confusing between Rashis and houses, so this will be your homework. Practice as much as you can. Whenever you're sitting in Go Train at work, you need a break, just draw a blank chart out and say, I'm going to draw a Pisces ascendant or a whichever ascendant. Draw all 12 ascendants, backwards and forwards. And you'll start to understand. And then you can take it to the next level and say, okay, which are the Dharm Trikonas, which are the Moksha Trikonas, which are the Kam Trikonas, which are the Earth Trikonas, which are the Upchaya houses, which are the Kendra houses, which are the Trikona houses. You can practice that. But hopefully, and I'll keep this session just to this much, because it was just about making sure that we practice, because there will be a period of time when we won't come back to charts. So it's important, because as we get into planets, we will start to learn more about planets and we will not go into the chart a whole lot. But it is very important that we do not forget about how to read a horoscope, the chart, the house number, the Rashi number. Is that helpful, like from last time where you guys left off?
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. It's a lot more clear compared to last class now that we revisited the topics and practiced more.
Yeah. So, and practice is not huge, just anytime you have, it doesn't, like if I ask you right now, make a Scorpio ascendant chart, make it. Let me know when everyone is done. I want to hear everyone who's done.
Sorry, while that's going on, I just had a quick question. You mentioned something called Dharm Trikona. Is that the same as Lakshmi Stan?
Yes, they are.
Okay. Okay,
But
thank you.
yes, they are. You're right. Yeah. Now, everybody got it? Everybody's done?
Yeah.
So that is less than 1 minute when everybody took them to draw a chart out with a Scorpio ascendant. So the practice is not huge. It doesn't take a lot of time. And you can draw one ascendant chart at a time and then just draw it forwards and backwards. Because when somebody asks me if I want to look at an 11th house significance, I don't count the houses every time. My eyes straight away go to that triangle in the 11th house.
Mhm.
I also asked last time, I explained to you a little bit about Raj Yogas and Dhan Yogas. Raj Yogas are combination of Kendra and Lakshmi Sthan, and a Dhan Yoga is a combination of a Lakshmi Sthan with the house numbers or the lords of house numbers 2 and 11. Second house is wealth, and 11th house is all types of gains. Okay, I'm just kind of replanting it because these are important concepts. This is like, remember, I said that people usually come to an astrologer for few things. A very important question most people have is their financial matters. Okay, once we learn about each of the houses, then we'll go to the next level of complexity. So you will hear me say many times that third house can give you a lot of material success also, because it is second from the second.
Mm.
Javier, you look confused. So any chart, pick it up. Any chart, pick it up. That's, you know how to count the second house, right? 1 and 2. And then do you know how to count the second house from house number 2?
Sorry, yes, I know. That would be house number 2, counting starting from house number 2 and then one more.
Then one more, right? So it is
Mhm.
second from the second.
Yes,
Okay.
that makes sense.
Okay.
Can
So
you-
It's
sometimes,
basically house 3.
yeah. So I'm just planting this seed now. I will cover it again. So the fourth house is, for example, residence. But the seventh house, I say seventh house also indicates foreign residence because it's fourth from the fourth, indicating home away from home.
Oh, I get it. So I think I get it.
Okay. Yeah, we will cover this again. I'm just planting some seeds and making sure that as we move forward, because once we get into the planets, we won't really we won't really be looking at many charts for a while, and maybe 1 or 2 classes at least, maybe even 3. And then once we come back to houses, then houses will come back, but we cannot lose what we have learned so far.
Just a quick question for the Scorpio ascendant chart. Is there no Raj Karak?
Very interesting question. So remember, yog, I explained, is a combination,
Mhm.
right? It's a union. So for a Scorpio ascendant, the 9th and the 10th Lord combination, which is the moon and the sun, will be one combination that can give you Raj Yog Karak. A second combination that can give you Raj Yog Karak is Jupiter, Lord of the 5th, with Lord of the 7th, which is Venus, or Lord of the 10th, which is Sun, and Lord of Ascendant, which is Mars itself, Jupiter and Mars. So there will be Raj Yoga Karak, but it will be a combination of houses. And you will see when I talk about Raj Yogas, there will be permutations of it. So 1 and 5, 4 and 5, 7 and 5, 10 and 5, or 1 and 9, 1 and 5, or 4 and 5, and 4 and 9, or 7 and 5, or 7 and 9. So there will be many different combinations, iterations of it. But we must learn which are the houses. We must learn what are the significances of these houses. And then we will know, once we know that inside out, then we'll know, okay, how to find combinations for Raj Yoga Karaks. But for certain ascendants, like a Taurus, like a Venusian ascendant, it is always going to be a Saturn. For a Saturn ascendant, it will always going to be Venus. One singular planet can give a Raj Yoga Karak. For luminaries, it's Mars. Whether it's a Cancer ascendant or a Leo ascendant, it'll be Mars. One singular planet can give a Raj Yoga. So imagine how strong that planet becomes in those charts.
Wait, so in this just the Scorpio chart, so the 4 and the 5, which are like the sun and moon, right? So sorry, moon and the sun, I mean. So would that mean that the Raj Karak is Mars?
No. So in a Scorpio ascendant, the lords of the 9th house will be moon and the 10th house will be sun. And if they are together in any chart, then we'll say, oh, there's a Raj Yoga happening here.
Okay.
Because the Raj Yoga Karaks are, it's the combination. The yoga is formed by a combination, which is, combination is the combination of the moon and the sun.
So what you're implying is like that 4th and the 5th is in one house, right?
They are in one house, or they may be aspecting each other.
Okay.
What does aspecting mean, Sanjiv?
Aspect in Hindi, we call it drishti, from which house certain planets, all planets have a 1-7 aspect. They all, uspe drishti dalte hain, they all aspect that house. But Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars have special aspects also, and we'll learn about that later.
So in whatever house it is, the 7th from that, it gives the drishti on that house.
Yes.
Okay. 7th house, okay.
Yeah. 7th house is always aspected. It's a 1-7 placement. Always there is every planet has an aspect of the 7th house. But for Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, they have their special significances also. And I won't start that topic now. The reason is, when I want to explain about the special aspects, I will also explain you the reasons why these planets have these special aspects. Because if you understand the reasoning, then it might be easier to remember. Okay, any questions anyone has?
For now.
Masi, how are you doing?
Oh, okay. Like I said, it takes a little longer for these. They're getting much faster. So
Okay, so if you draw a blank chart, can you read the houses?
yeah, that is easy now. You worked with me on that. So
Okay, and if you populate that with you, if I tell you an ascendant, you know how to populate it?
yeah, ascendant is okay now, but that tricone and the other things, I'm not.
That you have to go through it. 1, 4, 7, 10. The diamonds are always Kendra houses. Okay, you will see the diamond is only in 1, 4, 7, 10 houses.
When you say 1, 4, 7, 10, but that changes according to which lagna. Like when you say Scorpio, then it won't
Do
be.
the houses ever change?
No, house doesn't change, right? So this is, yeah. So I'm looking at the Cancer where 1, 4, 7, 10 is in a diamond. So that's why I was just saying, I was thinking it changes that. You are talking about house now, right?
Kendra, whenever we utter the word Kendra, Kendra means houses.
Yeah.
Houses are static. The 1, 4, 7, 10 are always going to be 1, 4, 7, 10 houses. Nothing can change that, the number of the house. It will always be in the same place. This is why when I asked you, can you draw a blank chart? You said, I can.
Yes.
And can you read the house numbers? You said you can.
Yeah. Let me
Because
make,
the houses numbers are always static. You always start counting of the houses from the same place. But if I don't give you the ascendant, you won't know how the chart looks like, because you don't know how to populate the rashis in there.
right. True.
So you always need the ascendant to understand which house. And sometimes when we are going to go through example, I'm not going to ask you to create the whole kundli, but I may ask you to draw a kundli and say, okay, which planet is sitting in the 6th house? Put this planet in the 6th house, and how will this planet behave now? So you have to recognize which house is the 6th house and then populate it, and then try to understand how might this planet behave in this house. So reading a chart, the ascendant and the houses is very, very important. It's the most basic lesson to do any astrology.
I will practice. So hopefully after this weekend, it will be more easier for me to practice more. It's just running, but I'll send you questions if I have questions to ask.
Okay.
That's great to have you as a teacher too.
Okay, guys. Hope this was helpful. We will wrap it up and meet next Monday. Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much. Thanks,
Thank you.
Sanjeev.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
you.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
bye.